In this video, I'm going to show you an AI tool that you can use immediately in your own classroom that's very easy and that will definitely engage all of your students. It's easy to set up and you can get started within 5 minutes. So today we're going to take a look at Mizou. Now this is the website mizou.com, and I came across Mizou during BET 2024 in London, and I immediately fell in love with it because as I was talking to the people of Mizou, I had some ideas of things that I could do immediately in my classroom, and I actually did. So in this video I'm going to show what Mizou is, I'm going to show you how to set it up and how to use it, and I'm going to share my experiences using it in my own classroom for the literary topics that we studied in this period. So what is Mizou? Mizou is an AI tool that creates a chatbot experience in which students engage with this chatbot based on whatever I fill in that the chatbot needs to do, that the AI needs to generate, and based on materials that AI thinks students need to know, but also based on things that I think my students need to know. So I have two examples that I'm going to show you, and both are built on the materials that we study in our classroom. So here we have a conversation with Edgar Allan Poe, and I'm going to fill in a student name. In this case, I'm simply going to fill in Mr. Henriquez. And then I'm going to start the session. And when we're in, we get this screen, which looks like an actual chatbot. Now, my students did it on their phones, and it was, of course, adapted to the size of the screen. But in this case, I'm on my desktop, and this is my chatbot. And I'm going to have a conversation with an AI-generated Edgar Allan Poe. So it gives a prompt, and it says, welcome, seeker of the macabre. Dare to explore the shadows of Gothic literature with me? Well, let's simply say yes. And see what it does. So as you can see, it's generating an answer. And it said, a pleasure indeed, Mr. Henriquez. The Gothic genre weaves the uncanny with the grotesque to stir a delicious horror. Tell me, what elements do you deem essential to invoke such a ghastly atmosphere? So it's basically asking me, what are elements of Gothic literature that I think are important to invoke this ghastly atmosphere? So I might say something like a spooky setting. And then it's generating an answer for me as well. Indeed. Castles, abbeys, vast forgotten lands, settings which brood under the cloak of night. And within these confines, what manifestations of the supernatural do you suppose lurk, waiting to be uncovered? And with these questions, which are based on the materials that my students are studying, the AI tool basically checks whether the students have the knowledge to answer those questions. What we also could do, and that's kind of interesting, is we can record our answer. So my students could basically say what they think their answer is, and we could have AI read out the prompts by clicking on this element here, and then we would get the answer read out.
Indeed. Castles, abbeys, vast forgotten lands, settings which brood under the cloak of night. And within these confines, what manifestations of the supernatural do you suppose lurk, waiting to be uncovered?
So this is an example of a conversation with Edgar Allan Poe. Another example might be this one, which is a knowledge review of the Victorian period. Now again, I'm going to fill in my name. And as the session boots up, we'll get the same interface in which students need to fill in their questions or answer the questions that the AI chatbot will generate. In this case, we have a multiple choice question, and it gives me some rules. So it says answer within 500 characters, instant feedback will be provided, focus on creative thinking and short text, and no external help allowed. Now let's dive into the world of the Victorian era with our first question. In the context of the Victorian era, who was the British monarch that the period is named after? So this is a very simple question, of course, but let's answer it incorrectly and see what happens. If I say answer D, which is the incorrect answer, it will generate a response and hopefully guide me towards the correct answer. And in this case, it immediately gives me the correct answer, answer C, and then gives a second question. And this one is, what was a major characteristic of Victorian literature? And again, I can take a moment to think through the answer, and I could give the answer, or let's say in this case, answer C. And in this case, the answer is correct, and it says, spot on, Mr. Henriquez, reflecting on social reform and morality is indeed a major characteristic of Victorian literature. So again, we have in this case multiple choice questions. Depending on what I say or what the input is that a student might give, it will generate different types of questions to review their knowledge. Now I want to show a final example before we move on to how to set this up. Now my third example is one that's different from the others, because in example 1, students were talking with the author, with Edgar Allan Poe. In example 2, we had a machine generating review questions, but in this case, the student needs to be the author. And in this case, the student is Charles Dickens. So the student is having a talk with Charles Dickens. And we see that an AI generated image is provided. Again, I fill in my name. I don't know why, probably to track what I fill in. Even though it gives my name first, the idea is that the AI is Jay Leno, who is a very known interviewer in the United States, and I am Charles Dickens. And we see that based on the questions that it asks, because it says, how do you believe literature serves as a tool for social commentary in your time? So I might say, I don't really understand the question. Could you rephrase it? And then it probably rephrases the question in a different way. Let's hope that it does that. And it poses a new question. And here we get the rephrased question. Of course, in your writings, you often address social issues such as poverty and inequity. Could you please share with us how you use your novels to shed light on these matters of societal importance during the Victorian era? So I might say something like, I comment on things I think are important and I use everyday examples to illustrate this. And of course, it builds on what I said. So what does this look like on the back end? What do you see as a teacher and how do you set this up? Well, let's go to my account first. So as soon as you've signed in and you've created your account, you get to this Community Explore page where you can see lots of different chatbots created by other teachers in the world. There are chatbots for different grade levels, different subjects, and you can even search for particular chatbots and you can interact with these and edit them. But I'm going to show you how you can make your own. So what I did, I wanted to create a chatbot that really focuses on the materials my students had to study. So I made sure that everything that I filled in was from the materials, and in this case even from the booklet that the students are actually studying. So I went to my chatbots and I wanted to say build a chatbot, and you can see these are all the chatbots that I've already built. I say build a chatbot and I can choose what to do. I can choose to create a custom chatbot, which is one that I need to create from scratch. Or I can choose an AI-generated chatbot in which Mizou will create the prompt based on my learning objectives. In this case, I've chosen an AI chatbot. And as you can see, there's not much that I can change because I can only fill in my learning objectives. Now, this is fine if you have learning objectives that are general and that the content that the students need to know is also a bit general. But in my case, I want to create a specific chatbot because I want to use my own materials, my own teaching materials that students need to review. So what I'm going to do is I chose custom chatbots and I'm going to give it a title, in this case, a conversation with Thomas Hardy. Now I need to fill in the AI instructions. And the AI instructions are basically what I want AI to do, but also the restrictions I'm going to give it to make sure that it doesn't become too difficult or too broad and that it really focuses on those particular elements that I want the students to study. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that the student will be a student revising for an exam. And I'm going to say that AI is going to be Thomas Hardy. Very simple, quick, easy, and I can even say that it generates a few things. So let's see what it does when I click on generate. And in this case, it changed it a bit. It says, you are Thomas Hardy, engage with the student who is revising for an exam on your works, discuss the novel's themes, characters, and your writing process. Aim to deepen their understanding of literature. This is, of course, an AI-generated prompt. It's a bit more specific than I did, but it's still very interesting. I'm going to give it the name, Thomas Hardy, and I want a picture. Now, I'm not going to upload my own picture because I don't have a picture of Thomas Hardy. I want AI to generate or to create a picture. So I'm going to describe what I want to see. I want to say an author, Thomas Hardy, sitting behind his desk in a Victorian style study. It is now generating the image, and in a few moments we'll see what it came up with. So it did come up with an image for this prompt, and we can see that the image is there as well. Next, I want to do the more options session, and I can do a few things. I can first say generate all the fields, and in this case it's going to generate the welcome message and the rules. And as you can see, these are the rules that both the student and the AI should undertake. And in this case it says be concise, stay in character, encourage analysis and provide a clear, instant feedback. Foster creative thinking and discussion on literary aspects, which is fine. It provides a welcome message, which I can edit if I want. I'm not going to do that now. And this is the most important part. I can upload a knowledge file. Now, if we click on the question mark, it says, by uploading these files, you enable the chatbot to use content from these files. The chatbot automatically decides when to receive content based on user interaction. So sometimes it might be necessary to use the content from those knowledge files. I'm going to upload the knowledge file, and if you click on upload, you'll be guided to your Windows screen or your Mac screen, whatever device you're using. And I can choose Thomas Hardy here and upload the knowledge file. Now, this Thomas Hardy document is basically a part of the booklet that discusses Thomas Hardy. As I've shown in my examples, there is the option to choose to have AI read out the prompt. And in this case, I'm going to choose a male voice, John, to be Thomas Hardy. When I'm done with this, I can publish, I can preview the chat. So I can say start chat and it'll prepare the chatbot for testing. And I can ask some questions and play around with it as a teacher. And when I'm done, which I'm not going to do now, and when I'm done, I can click on publish. And I can choose to publish it to only me or to public. And I'm going to say public because I'm a good person. So, and then you can have a look at this particular chatbot as well. I'll upload the links in the description. And as you can see, this is what I see. Now, it's very important that you start a new session. Now, I can personalize some inputs as well, like the grade level, the learning objectives, and the rules again. I can also indicate which tools we're going to use, like a timer, which I've already done, or maybe a grading rubrics. Because if I choose a grading rubric, the AI can automatically grade the students, and it will propose a particular grade that I might give my students based on their answers. And as you can see, we have A+ for an in-depth discussion, B for good understanding, C for basic grasp, D for limited insight, and F for misunderstanding of themes and characters. Well, when this is done, I can say launch. It will check whether it's okay-ish, it's a safety check. And this QR code or this link I can share with my students and they can interact. Now, what do you see as a teacher? As a teacher, I don't have any students now, but as a teacher, I can see many different things. I can see the status of the session, I can see when the session was generated, and I can give it a particular name. So in this case, I might say grade 12 revision. When I click on the student section, I can see all of the students who are there, an AI suggested grade, the duration of their session, whether they've submitted it, and whether the conversation is still open or whether they've ended the conversation. I'm going to show you what I just filled in the Victorian Review one, and you can see that I can see everything. So I can see the questions asked, I can see what the input was, I can see the other questions as well, and even some interactions with those things. So this is really a copy of the entire conversation. And it provides some feedback for the teachers and also some things what might be relevant for the grading system. So you can really tailor your teaching based on what students have filled in. Now, this was my first look at Mizou. And actually, I really like Mizou as a simple yet very effective and engaging tool. It's free for schools, which is good. It's free for teachers to use to create their materials with. There is an entire community, even on Facebook, where you can share your own tools, ask questions, and kind of interact with other teachers as well. So I think that if you're looking for a way to test whether students understand materials, for an interactive way for students to participate and communicate with the materials that they're studying, Mizou is definitely a tool for you to try. I'll put all the links in the description, including my own chatbot, so that you can have a look. And if you want to know more about Mizou, check out their website, their community on Facebook, and of course the socials that they have. I'll link all of them in the description below. So this was my first look at Mizou and how you can set up Mizou for your own classroom. If you found this video useful, please consider giving it a thumbs up. So I also want to mention the number 90, which is the percentage of people who don't subscribe when they watch the video, and hopefully you want to change this percentage. Please consider subscribing. In my next video, I'm going to look at another AI tool that you might want to use in your classroom, whether you're a language teacher or not, and how to set it up. For now, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in one of my next Teacher Toolkit videos.